We're talking about the metaverse being a place where we spend a very large amount of time, potentially, as we go down the road. I honestly think it'll be kind of disappointing it's kind of like with Apple. They always got the creativity and the colors splashing everywhere. And look, it's a clean slate to do everything else. And then you start to use Apple for yourself. And it's like, yeah, I'm just using another piece of technology. It's because most of us will replicate something very similar and not deviate too much from who we actually are from the real world to the metaverse.
It's going to be the same.
Yeah. So it's not like we're going to have, oh, look at Eric's really fantastical cut. Your artist will.
But it might not be Eric. It could be a pseudonym. It could be something totally different.
Ooh. And then I just made me think like at some point in time, the metaverse becomes the primary reality and the real world is like the secondary.
Went all in, play my cards right. Up the ante, won blackjack all night. Roll the dice, let it ride. Water the odds, I got snake eyes.
Real quick, before we get started, CasCM is our content production company. Why content? It's simple. Content brings people together. I've seen it play out over and over, and I want to help others explore and discover this for themselves. The experience is totally worth it. Learn more at CasCM.com. We focus on podcasts and writing, one piece of content at a time.
Can I just start off and just say, I'm really glad to be here with you today.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to be here with you today. We've got our digital writing utensils. We get to draw pictures while we talk. So if you hear a lot of this,
I don't think they're going to pick that up.
That's me, I'm sure they will.
But you're like trying to open up the conversation now. I feel like that's not how we do it.
You want me to shut down the conversation?
No, you just talking. It's like mid-sentence and off you go.
Yeah, I mean...
You sleep when you drink coffee?
If it's really hot.
Kind of have to, right?
I mean...
Like any other drink, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You ever hear the people when they come down in the morning, they haven't had anything to drink in like 12 hours and they drink and you hear it going through their body?
No, what?
Yeah.
What kind of people are you hanging out with?
Yeah, children.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, you mean like, no, yeah. Okay, I know that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, my kids wait till one time during the day to just start slamming water as they're outside, clearly dehydrated. And they come in like, Of course, my kids have gotten into this really bad habit because we don't just let them have Gatorade or a bunch of sugar, Coke.
Food dye. It's good for you.
Well, it's just all the sugar. What they'll do is they'll go ride their bike around the block one time.
Food dye is a problem. Sorry, you talk about the riding the bike. I like that.
Yeah, but we'll come back to food dye.
Okay.
Yeah, but they'll go ride the bike around the block one time, come back in, I just did a lap around the block. Can I have a Gatorade? I'm like, no, you can't have a Gatorade.
Yeah.
Do you call that work?
Yeah. It's hot out.
Yeah. I will say this though, since we're talking about kids on bikes, we'll still come back to food coloring. So I got both my boys a road bike, 8 and 11 years old, and they look great on the bikes. Got a great deal. Used bikes, all that stuff. Who gives a shit? The most important part is last night I was out riding with my son, just around the neighborhood. We're just chilling. And he's a good bike handler, my 11-year-old. And he's behind me. And he decides to try and crank it up, which he'd done several times that night, which is fine. Really speed things up. Well, something happened. I'm guessing the chain slipped or whatever it might be. And he ate shit real fast.
No.
Yeah. He was okay. Helmets on, everything else. Got some
knees, elbows?
Road rash on his elbows and on his side.
Was he excited to go? Oh, he's not going to school. It's not school yet, but show some friends.
Oh, no. Well, see, we are going to the beach this weekend. And I told him, I got him watching the Tour de France with me and some of these other classics races in the mornings. And he was laughing sometimes when he'd see these massive pileups. And I thought, man, I'm just telling you, like, that shit hurts. And these guys are all bandaged up the next day. And I'm thinking, that really hurts. Road rash is painful.
Yeah.
Hurts a little bit in the moment, but then all that adrenaline comes flooding in. You're fine. It's not till you get in the shower. You're like,
sting it.
What has happened here? Which is also another reason why they shave.
Yeah.
Because hair and road rash is it's a bacteria factory. Anyway, that's just a little side note.
Yeah. Sounds amazing.
Yeah. So he looks cool now.
Okay.
But this is my son who, he would come in a lot of times. He'd get a tiny little cut. His face, oh, Dad, I need a Band-Aid. And I'm like, oh my God, no, you don't, man. And he'd see me with just road rash from where I've wrecked or whatever, just, walking around. I was trying to set the example, like, suck it up, bro.
Road rash from just walking around?
Yes. Sometimes I'll just collapse on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah. No bikes.
Yeah.
I just
dangerous
collapse.
out there. That's what we talked about last time. It's not a pedestrian city we live in.
Well, in the times that I've crashed.
Or you might be just walking around your house. Hopefully that's pedestrian friendly.
Yeah, but no, we've put bumpers on all the corners. I mean, I'm okay. I'm okay. That's for my safety.
Yeah.
So anyway, So I tell you what, you want your kids to be tough, and which he was. I didn't belittle him. I didn't say like, hey, suck it up. And that's only because there were two pedestrians right there. Otherwise, I would have totally belittled him, crushed his spirit, and then used that to bring him back up.
Yeah.
And then also remind him that daddy's always in charge. But we had pedestrians, so I couldn't do that. But honestly, man, it hurt. When I looked back and I saw him on the ground,
it's
I was
tough.
like, oh God, that hurts. And it really made me
It's
regret
emotional.
it. Yeah, because a part of me was like, oh, I shouldn't have got him a road bike. And the other part of me was like, shut up. Of course you should have got him a road bike, man. Kids are supposed to get scraped up and beat up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he did, man.
Good chapter in Jordan Peterson's book. He's like, don't bother children while they're skateboarding.
Oh, like that.
Yeah, it's read the chapter. Or, Audible.
Was that in the 12 Rules for Life?
Yeah.
I've got the book.
You have it.
I've
never
read
read it.
No, I've skimmed
Good
it.
stuff.
Yeah, no.
Love it. He's got 2 of them, but he talks about it. And in Toronto, you'd go around and these kids would be skateboarding. They wouldn't be wearing helmets, no protective gear. And he loved watching them. And people would freak out. And then the city shut it down. No more of this stuff. He's like, well, the kids are going to find trouble somewhere.
Of course.
You're not going to let them get in trouble here. Where are you going to get them in trouble? And it's falling down. You don't want to hurt yourself. And you do watch some of these kids skateboarding. And you're just like, my daughter got into it. And we were going to the skate parks, down at Renaissance Park. It's wild. Now, you got to watch what time of day you go.
Of course.
Because
yeah,
everyone had their turn, unspoken turns. It just they knew it was your turn.
Yeah.
And if something happened, they would help you out. People were giving tips.
Yeah.
It was this little community. Now, there's always a couple here and you see some drugs over there. That's, you can stay away
you
from
see
that.
some drugs over there, some prostitution over there, a little homelessness over there.
That's saying time of day matters.
Yeah.
Time of day matters.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in every park. But so I was a skater. I used to be a skater.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was hardcore into it. That was my whole
a big
identity.
deal in the 80s.
Well, this was, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you're older than me.
Okay.
You can't make old jokes about somebody younger than you.
Why not?
Just because I got this wisdom beard going on and you still have 13-year-old face patch.
I had cut it a little bit today.
I know, you shouldn't have done that. I told you to grow it out.
I did. It's still grown. It's fine.
So,
Okay,
yeah, so
carry on.
Technically, yes, it's always growing. We're always dying, whatever. The point is, I used to be in skateboarding. Look at these teeth. See how one's discolored?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's because it's a fake. Because I slammed that sucker right out of my face when I was...
a real tooth. Wow.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Busted. Just face first right into the concrete. I crashed a lot. No helmet, no pads. And we didn't have skate parks when I was a kid.
Yeah.
We would just...
Oh, yeah. You would go on the
I would
curb,
go get
stairs.
wax.
Right.
Yeah, wax. Stairs. You just wax those things up so you could slide and everything else. Man, I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, my dad used to say, because he was a dentist, and the people that would come in, rollerbladers, skateboarders, bikers, always constant head injuries, mouth injuries, jaw.
Man. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Wear
then,
a helmet, wear a mouth guard. It's like, what am I going to go to the park and wear a mouth guard?
I know. I think about what we put on our kids these days compared to what we used to wear as safety gear. And we didn't have safety gear.
No.
Yeah.
Well, we were kids, I think. They didn't have car seats. They just get in the back seat.
Yeah.
Like a pinball
There's a
back
picture.
there.
We'd probably tell you. Seriously. It's like, I'm a
in
good
the station
driver.
wagon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No.
And then leave them in the car when they go inside of the convenience store to pick up whatever they got to get. And we're sitting in the car
Right,
still.
but they cracked the windows.
Okay.
I mean, let's
you
come on.
see the kid just his heads. If that happened today, you'd get out there and they'd be escorting you to jail.
Dude, man. I know somebody, and I've heard too many stories. This is not to try and take this to a tragic, but let's...
Yeah.
I mean, even our van, it's
Debbie Downer again.
I'm sorry, man. My bad.
Okay.
Even our van has a reminder on it that says, check rear seats, for children. Because...
Did you put the sticker up there to the van?
No, it's all built. Man, so ours is a 2022.
It's like a reminder, a sticky note. You're like, check for children?
Yeah, jeez. Yeah, that's real analog.
Remember to brush your teeth. Check. Yeah.
These vehicles, man, these 2022 Honda Odyssey. It's a minivan, right?
Yeah.
It's like driving a computer.
Yeah. It just does all the work for you. It's not even fun anymore.
There's nothing for you to really control. It even will tell you, if you kind of drift a little bit, totally awake because you're drifting, you can feel it trying to jerk the steering wheel back. And I think that's not a safe mode. They built these things for 10 and 2 o'clock moms who are terrified of the road.
Maybe dads too. Well, 10 and 2 is not a thing anymore, by the way. They teach it a different way. Oh, yeah, it's not 10 and 2.
What do they teach now?
I forgot. It's like 9 and 3. I don't know. Ask my kid.
7 and 5.
Like, yeah, it's something random. Or it's just, would it be, that's 12 o'clock up there.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. It's all digital now. What's the clock,
Yeah.
But what about if someone cuts you off? Does Headspace pop up and it tells you to start meditating? Because there's a lot of that.
Now, here's an idea, which I wouldn't be surprised if something like this comes out. Years ago, so this is related, when I was looking at, I can't remember if I was doing this for a project or just working on some of this stuff myself, but looking at future of transportation, I was thinking about technologies that would be showing up in vehicles. So this is beyond the autonomous stuff. This is like more of an AR type situation. So you're driving along your entire screen, billboards, if you stick your head out the window, the billboard just looks like a blank piece of, it could be green or white. There's nothing on there because everything is designed to be captured specifically to you based on data. Yeah, this was when I was looking at, this was part of a client project. We're looking at, widespread use of data. And the problem that we have with big data today is that even though we have artificial intelligence, we have algorithms that try to decipher this data, we still aren't giving it the right kind of inputs to make sense of the massive amount of data that we have. But if you imagine a future state where we are able to use that data, our personal data is able to be used in such a way that it can really narrow it down for us as to what we want, not just on an emotional, financial, intellectual level, but also on a genetic level, just aggregate data. Just imagine a place where maybe one day we finally figured out and just, it's not all fucked up. And so you start to imagine driving down the road and you're looking through your windshield. And in that thing, you're seeing billboards that are they're designed ads specifically targeted to you. Very similar to what we see when we're getting on our devices, but everything is all intertwined and stuck together. So this comes back to Headspace. So imagine this type of situation, somebody cuts you off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, that thing pops up right in front of you. The car starts to drive itself because it knows that you're about to make some bad decisions based on historical data and based on data that it's captured.
Could be like your heart rate or something like that. Yeah.
And then it's doing predictive modeling about what type of responses you might make. And it just decides to go ahead and say, you know what, I got this. I got this.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know. Do you want to live in a world like that?
I don't know. It's getting to a point where like we need something because it might not be getting cut off. It could be tailgated.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Right. And like this person's really close and like they're trying to make a point and you see them in there and like, or when you turn, you ever see that when you're turning right and someone's behind you and they just want to go around you so bad and they can't wait and they go in oncoming traffic to get around you. Like it's just, and you're going to be gone. And the thing to do is like, you know what? Maybe they're in a hurry. Maybe they're rushing to the hospital. Maybe something else. Maybe they're just an asshole and it's like not your problem. That's a them problem. I don't know. Like if you start like turning the vehicle around, do you think it'd be a good idea to be like, the car would turn back around, like turn you around to your point?
What are you talking about? If you start turning the vehicle around.
Now you're mad and you want to go chase this other car down. I'm not saying you should do that, right? But if someone were to do that, because people do that, it's crazy. I just heard a story of someone did something and the car came around and they showed the gun to the person. Like this just happened to some woman. They were driving and they just flashed a gun to them. They were that mad. Like you don't mess with these people anywhere because you don't know what you're...
I seriously, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So like, should Headspace or should some app like control your emotions? Yeah, it's a little much.
That is incredibly irresponsible and stupid. Yeah. Somebody's flashing, and it's much more likely now.
You can't control that someone's going to go to take it to that level.
Okay, let's say that person does that. They've got a gun. I'm driving the car. I've got a gun, and then I'm just triggered by this. No pun intended. They show theirs. I show mine. It's like, what do we do next? Is it just like, okay, great, we've evened the playing field, or is somebody going to point and shoot? Like,
so we're going to go backwards. We talked about it last time. Alexander Hamilton, Aaron Burr, and they have a duel.
Yeah.
And you just go out.
Why don't we have duels anymore?
Duels, that's like it. Things go, like history repeats itself, maybe sometimes, not really, but that's what it could be.
I like the better, it rhymes. That's what I like. History rhymes.
I don't know. Yeah, two people have an issue, like they just go deal with it.
Yeah.
But it's just bad.
And they usually would deal with it. I mean, not, duels, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know how we went from Headspace to duels, but
no,
that was probably me.
Yeah, I guess that it comes down to this is how much should you care? So if we want to take a track down self-awareness here, I'll give my own example. Because I think about this a lot. If I'm out on the road on my bike, and again, I probably shared this in the last episode, I make sure that I'm not hugging the white line. I'm about 2 to 3 feet, most likely 2 feet out. Because again, in the state of North Carolina, we've got the whole road. Now, so if I'm out riding, I'm also very conscientious about drivers, if I can hear them coming. And if I'm coming up around a corner and they can't see and, I wave them through if I see they've got a clear shot, again, building goodwill. But there's definitely times where I'm riding and there's oncoming traffic. And again, this is out in the country or when I'm starting to get close to the city again, where you're getting into more traffic. And some folks will be behind me and they decide to pass me while traffic is coming. And they're giving me a wide berth going into that lane. So I'm kind of conflicted. So number one is, thank you for giving me a wide berth and not trying to come super close to me. And then the other thought, which is usually accompanied by a hand gesture, is like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Then the next thought is, well, technically they were giving me space. They would have just hit the other car. And I'm sure there's always a possibility I could have gotten hit by flying debris or whatever.
Sure.
But they were doing something to look out for me. I mean, I'm not flipping them off. I'm just throwing my arm up, and be like, hey, just like, that's just stupid. I don't know. That kind of get conflicted. Is should I care that much?
Yeah. Maybe you should stay off the road because if you hadn't done that, you wouldn't have put this
It's
person in
called
this predicament.
Road bike.
Hey, you put the person in the predicament. They didn't know how to handle it because they don't see it every day.
Oh,
you see cars
so I'm
every day.
responsible for their inability to handle
sounds like
obstructions
That's
in the
something
road?
you should probably sleep on.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Definitely isn't.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for close to 30 years.
In that situation, if the car took over, she's like, listen, we've never seen a biker on the road with you traveling at this speed before.
Right.
You're not equipped to handle this situation. So we're going to do it for you.
Right.
Takes over. You calm down because you're like looking, they see it, they sense it. Car takes over, autopilot. Should that be a thing? Saves you, saves the oncoming traffic.
This, now we're getting into a bigger discussion of
Self-driving.
Well, no, the technology is secondary. The primary discussion that we really have to have in this scenario is about society in and of itself. And what I mean is how compliant, rebellious, how would we define that, right? I mean, a compliant culture would be far more accepting of vehicles and technology that would make decisions for them. My own observation, and then studying and being a student of history, and just looking at human behavior in the United States, for example, in the vast majority of the United States. Now, obviously, there's your big cities that tend to be more compliant with rules and regulations and all this type of stuff may not fit into this mold. But a lot of other places, including here, we're much more independent. There's more of an independent streak that says, hey, look, technology should aid me, but I'm always in the driver's seat, no pun intended.
Yeah.
If that's a pun. So whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, so technology should always be riding shotgun, not the other way around.
Okay.
But some people say, no, I'm fine with technology being in charge. I mean, we see that obviously with the folks that have crashed in their Teslas. Again, that's going to happen inevitably. It's going to happen as new technology is being developed and it's still, growing and learning and all that type of stuff. So I think what we really have to decide is what kind of culture are we becoming? Is there a certain point where are we becoming more rebellious and independent, or are we becoming more compliant and accepting, of, okay, well, these things are just part of our life. And we just need to do what we're told.
Yeah. Well, when you bring up cars crashing with the autopilot on a Tesla.
Yeah.
So technology, it's like a crash happens.
Right.
And all of a sudden it's like, well, this will never work. Where it's like crashes happen, I'm sitting on my street all the time. So like, is the expectation with technology that it has to have it has to be 100%. Like there can be
it's unrealistic.
It's unrealistic, but that's what the media is making out to be. So if a Tesla crashes,
that's the media. They're looking for shit to get you outraged about.
I get it, and that maybe I am a little bit outraged, and this will bleed
Is
into some of my outrage.
That you
it's
texted
getting
me
there.
Oh, that's right. We have your outrage. We have to discuss. Go ahead.
No, we're getting there.
Yeah.
But the mistakes are going to happen. It's like they can't believe it that your computer could have failed something.
Right.
It can never get something wrong. But when you get something wrong, it's like, oh man, this person gets something wrong every day. Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It doesn't answer the question, right? But
I think it's going to be the response like that's going to be in proportion to the promises made by the founder or the technology itself. Because here's a fact. The one thing that overpromises and underdelivers 100% of the time is technology. Every time. We buy apps, we buy devices, promising us this utopian type situation where we become so productive and can do everything. And then you get your iPad. You're like, well, shit, this doesn't look like the commercial. I mean, yeah, the device does, but I'm not flowing like they were. And where's my soundtrack? That real cool, fun soundtrack, right? I should be just drawing. And that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It becomes more and more difficult because you have to learn this or do this, or you have to connect to this, or maybe this isn't compatible with your work server or whatever. Or there's bugs, there's fixes that need to be taken care of. Or like one of the apps I'm using right now that I subscribe to and pay for, every time I try to contact customer support, it takes me to a page that says, oops, something went wrong. I'm thinking, how is this possible?
Yeah.
So it becomes more of an inconvenience and pain in the butt, oftentimes taking up more time. But if you recognize that technology consistently overpromises and underdelivers, that doesn't mean you shouldn't have technology. It just means adjust your expectations.
That's good for people too, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So if Tesla is promising all this, game-changing, paradigm-shifting, the way that we think about driving, and then people crash, of course, you've just left it wide open.
Right.
To say, well,
you expected this thing to take over cities and no one's driving anymore. And overall, I would think, and maybe the expectation's too high, that the safety with self-driving vehicles would actually be better than what we have today.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of variables in there that
there's
we're not
many variables for sure. I'm just saying overall from a macro level.
Yeah. Well, but again, it's not about, if you're just looking at data and saying, well, what's safer and what's, I think you're right.
Thank you.
We as people, we take a lot of risk when we're driving.
Yeah.
So sure. But in order for self-driving cars really to be successful, the way I understand it, one of the reasons why, 10 years ago, they're like, oh yeah, by 2022 or 2025, there's going to be X amount of self-driving cars on the road. And it's like, no, there's not.
Yeah.
No, there's not. This is just stupid, mindless projection.
Yeah.
The reality is that you cannot have that type of a situation unless you have smart technology built into the roads, built into all the other cars, and you have a language, a common language between technology that can be spoken. So my car should be able to talk to your car. So in the situation of being cut off, for example, right? It's funny to talk about Headspace popping up and taking over the car. But what would be even more interesting is that somebody cuts me off, another vehicle cuts me off. Well, instead of me, getting upset, my vehicle communicates with that vehicle, letting it know, like it's almost sending it data like, hey, you came too close. That was close. Don't do that again. And now it becomes, oh, okay, that's an input. And then that input now goes into the system and it knows that it needs to move further up before passing with this type of vehicle at this type of speed. Think calculations that we can't make as human beings.
Yeah.
Then it makes a little bit more sense.
I like that.
So, and the funny part of that is you can imagine vehicles getting pissed, especially if AI becomes more sentient. It has feelings and it has personalities.
It has missiles, right?
Yeah.
Missile lock, right?
Oh, man.
No, it's not good.
Yeah.
That's not good. The networks, right? Like these everything, which already is, right? Watch, phone, all this computers. Everything's going to be networked. Like one of these mics, then just there it is networked in a way. And there's a little computer thing. Yeah, it's plugged in, but like even more so. So like to your point of all of a sudden the cars are networked together.
Yeah.
And they're communicating with one another. Yeah. Which you have like Waze.
Yep. GPS.
Yeah. And you see the other Wazers on the, I don't know if they call them Wazers.
Well, they do now.
They do now. Yeah. But you see them, right? They wave, you wave to them, whatever. But
what? I don't wave. What are you talking about? You wave to the Wazers?
No, there's like a whole, it's the idea of you see these like emoji looking things out on the road. And it's like, it's just funny. I don't know. I don't
Google
wave to them.
Waze.
I know.
Yeah.
So it's like ruined it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'd like
so much money. I know. No, I know.
Yeah.
But it still exists. I mean, you can still use it.
Yeah.
But it's all Google. A lot of data.
I mean,
but the network of all these devices, everything being connected.
For sure. But not just the devices, right? So the problem that you have with a lot of these devices being connected, Apple's a perfect example. It's the APIs can be connected to various things, but it's a closed loop system in general. Whereas Windows is far more, I mean, they're closed loop, but they're more open, right? You can do more and tinker and mess around with. So if you have a closed loop system, you need to have a common language that can be spoken between all of these that is not having to wait on updates from other systems, because then that can throw everything off.
Wasn't like HTML, like this open source, like anyone could go and create something? I got it. It's not Apple, it's not Microsoft, but it was like,
I thought it was JavaScript.
What that gets into the name of the podcast,
the metaverse,
right? Where it's just open, where it's not, you don't want Apple, like you talked about last time, you don't want Facebook, Meta, controlling the metaverse. Whoever owns the metaverse could own the world. Like they're talking about like godlike, right? So so having this open source where all these different things can come in and play in this metaverse.
Right.
Yeah. The book that I'd mentioned before we started talking, the Matthew Ball, The Metaverse and How It Will Revolutionize Everything.
How does it revolutionize everything?
You're going to the beach.
Yeah.
Get the Audible, listen to it. And we'll talk.
Is the Audible good? Does he actually read it?
No, I'm reading it. I'm actually using but I like Audible too, so I'm not hating on it.
Yeah.
I might do both. I might listen along.
I like that.
Yeah. Because you can do that. You can buy the book.
And listen
and you can like, they'll say, for $7 more, get this, and then they'll read it to you.
Sometimes. A lot of times you're paying the exact same amount.
You should buy it, and you should get all of, not the print. I guess that would be expensive, but why not?
Sometimes you pay more for the digital than print. Yeah,
no,
that's a whole
I haven't seen that.
I have.
Really?
Because most of my books are digital now. Because we have so many books that are just sitting in boxes. We don't have enough bookshelf space for them, I think.
Yeah. It's good. You like some books around though too, right?
I do. It makes me look smart. Okay. That's important.
It's signaling.
Correct.
Which is a lot. In the metaverse, we're talking a lot about signaling. That if you have a car or sneakers or whatever that is, your computer with your Apple icon on the logo on the back, that a lot of people are signaling, look at me, I wear Nike sneakers, or I have an Apple computer, or I drive this car. I have a Ford Mustang, whatever. So much of what people talk about, I hear in the first level, is people want to signal that. And I understand it to a point of that. I know people do that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people don't care. Like they wear those sneakers because that's the sneakers they like. It's not for Jared to come over and be like, man, I really like your sneakers. Like, I could care less if you like them or not. So there's got to be more to it than that, because we're all talking about self-awareness. Like, if you're signaling how much money you have, or and people are going to do that. But what if you just like the product and you don't want to signal it? I guess what I'm saying is, in the metaverse, so much of it is, well, why would you buy that skin or that thing for $20 or 20 Bitcoin, whatever that would be?
Yeah.
If it's just, I want to have it.
Yeah. So kids will do that. And I think you're bringing up a really good point here.
But they also might just like it for the utility. I want that skin because, like in Fortnite, it gives me extra speed or extra power or whatever that might be, where it's like, it might look cool and I want to show my friends, but it also might just be because I can kill you easier in the metaverse.
Well, no, I mean, in all that stuff, there's always going to be an element of, hey, I like this. This feels like me. I want this to be and it can be pretty mundane.
Right.
The way it's usually advertised or talked about, it's always going to be somebody comes in, they spend a lot of time crafting their right arm, and then their left arm looks different, and then they've got this type of helmet or whatever that might be. That's not the majority of people, I don't believe for a second. At least when we're talking about adults.
Yeah.
Kids, for sure, because it takes a lot of time to do that. But for the majority of the adults, and we're talking about the metaverse being a place where we spend a very large amount of time, potentially, as we go down the road, I honestly think it'll be kind of disappointing it's kind of like with Apple. They always got the creativity and the colors splashing everywhere. And look, it's a clean slate to do everything else. And then you start to use Apple for yourself. And it's like, I'm just using another piece of technology. It's because most of us will replicate something very similar and not deviate too much from who we actually are from the real world to the metaverse.
It's going to be the same.
Yeah. So it's not like we're going to have, look at Eric's really fantastical cut. Your artist will.
But it might not be Eric. It could be a pseudonym. It could be something totally different.
Ooh. And then I just made me think, like, at some point in time, the metaverse becomes the primary reality and the real world is like the secondary.
Well, you talk about Snow Crash, the novel. I'm sorry, I'm bringing up books. I know this is
Snow Crash. Snow Piercer.
No, Snow Crash.
Don't know
by
about that.
Stevenson. What's first
name? Is that
name?
the one where they ate each other's butts?
That's when Metaverse. No, so you got to read up on this stuff. If we're going to be calling ourselves, sorry, look at this. Technology is not working.
Of course,
I'm trying to log into my iPad with my face, and it's just like, wait, you said the wrong word. We're after you.
I know. Yeah. Sorry, I don't recognize
Neil Stevenson.
you.
I didn't even have to look it up.
Oh, okay.
That's when like the name Metaverse was like coined, and he was just making shit up. Well, he became like big time for security, for national security, for Epic Games, right? So they're trying to learn about the metaverse and what that is.
Right.
You're gonna have to read that book, maybe.
Maybe I will.
But anyway, Euro is the main character. You're gonna start drawing now.
I am.
Yeah. You're just doodling.
It just helps.
It just makes you
I'm
think.
Just doodling.
Yeah, it's ADHD. I get it.
No.
He was a pizza delivery driver in real life.
Right.
But when he went in the metaverse, he was a sword fighter. And he would just kill anything. Right.
Yeah.
He was just a total badass. So it's like he had 30 minutes to deliver his pizzas, like the dominoes effect. Like if you didn't get there, like then your pizza's free.
Right.
It wasn't that because it was run by the mafia. Yeah. But like here you have the person in the real world is this, and in the metaverse is total badass.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, but it could be a totally different person. And you wouldn't know if you walked down the street and met him that this is the sword fighting king of the metaverse.
No, I think that's absolutely true. Because we already see that with social media anyway. So looking at patterns of behavior throughout history, that's the thing that really, when you want to talk about making a good guess at where things may go and how it may impact the future, the best metric, in my opinion, at least in my observation, has been this, is that you just look at human behavior in the face of similar situations. And when you look at that, then you start to ask yourself, well, what's different about today than in human behavior, not in technology and what's going around in the external environment, but what's different today about human behavior than it was at this point in time when humanity faced a similar situation. Then you can start to compare and contrast. What you'll typically find is that there's really small differences, right? So you think about the turn of the century and the first industrial revolution, that rate of change along the line of human history was far greater than even the rate of change that we've seen in our lifetime. Yet we don't talk about that very much. The industrial revolution fundamentally changed every dynamic in society. Before, you used to have lots of kids because kids didn't live very long and they needed to work the land. So have 12, hope for 6 to make it. And then, maybe 3 will make it to, the ripe old age of 60.
Yeah.
Like that was life.
Those like sales numbers. That's just scary.
Yeah.
Like call 12 people and hopefully you make.
Well, where do you think actuarial tables
Yeah.
came from,
Yeah, I
man?
get it. I
Life
get it.
insurance and
Yeah.
actuary based on these kinds
No, I know,
of
but
metrics.
just to talk about it out loud, it's still like.
It makes you feel like you're in a sleazy business. Yeah.
No, yeah, you went there, right?
Yeah, I did. Totally.
It is. It's up there with like used car sales and
Right.
injury attorneys.
Data.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Yeah.
human behavior.
I like that. Metaverse. You brought something up earlier too, because you're like, well, in this year, these things will happen. So maybe think, of another book,
Uh-huh.
2001, A Space Odyssey,
Yeah.
where they made these predictions of, what was the predictions? The predictions of like using iPads, basically.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't iPads, so whatever
Oh, right,
the
yeah,
flat
yeah.
screen was, they're sitting there. But it was in 2001.
Mhm.
The iPhone came out, 2007? iPad was 2011.
Yep.
So 10 years later, they had predicted like all these things. Or like you look at Back to the Future, and I don't know what that's considered.
Yeah.
But the cars were past the Back to the Future year. I can't remember what, it was 2019 or something like that. I can't remember. We can
not even. It was like 1999.
I'm sorry, the year they went into the future and the cars were flying and then the sneakers and the hoverboard.
Oh, it was early 2000s.
No, it was just happened. Not just happened. It was pre-pandemic.
Well, here,
right?
I hate to blow this out of the water for you, man.
Please.
But predictions are notoriously wrong. They
No.
suck. They're almost always
Okay,
off.
so the point is that those
gonna
books,
read
those
you some.
movies, but like, it's not about predictions. It's about this stuff was always coming. Like there's these incredible creative people
Right.
that thought about this stuff. It wasn't just like they were creative in writing. They really had to go and think like, what is a metaverse and what is the future going to look like?
Yeah.
And they made these predictions and they weren't necessarily right on their years, but they
Mhm.
were right in many other ways. Now, it was oftentimes, and it talks about it in this book, that it was a very dystopian view. Like it's the end of Earth.
Yeah.
And in order for the metaverse is like, that's where we have to go if we want to save our planet. Stuff like that. Like maybe the metaverse
Except-
doesn't have to be where you have to like, things are so bad in the real world.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. I don't know. Some people think it is.
No.
But
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
I do.
That you have to go to the metaverse because if you don't, then you're going to have to live in this shitty world.
So here's the flaw in that way of thinking is nobody's taking into consideration the amount of coal fire or energy production it's going to take to run those
No.
fucking systems.
I
That
get-
will kill the earth faster than anything
I get
else.
it. And that's a great question. And so that's why you should listen to other podcasts, which like my podcast.
What? No.
No, so I'm talking
No,
to
not
people
gonna
who are
happen.
in the world of building businesses in the metaverse, NFTs and all that.
Yeah.
And I want to ask, because I'm trying to understand it, right?
Mhm.
Moving the eyebrows. This is not,
You like
can't
that?
see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
I want to
Power move.
understand. I want to hear them answer the questions. And I still don't have the great answer on this because you're 100% right.
thank you.
There's other aspects of this. How are they going to do all this? Like we heard, so we use SiteGround to host our websites and most of our clients' websites,
Okay.
right? London, as you heard, it was hot. It's hot everywhere.
Yeah.
London was like 100 something degrees.
Right.
It was almost like a natural disaster. It got
Mhm.
so hot. It was melting their servers. It was melting the cooling devices.
It was melting the tarmac
Yeah.
in their airports.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. And so everyone's website, not here, but like I think it was mostly in Europe, they made a post on Facebook and their websites were down, like thousands upon thousands upon thousands. And some are e-commerce websites. Like when your site's down for 10 minutes, you're losing business.
Right.
People were freaking out. And they have servers all over the world, but those servers were down.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you manage this?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. No, you're right. So I don't disagree with it. It doesn't mean that. But here's the thing. One of the answers I get a lot of times is that's being worked on. There's going to be businesses that are working on. No different
Of
than
course.
security because
Yeah.
they were like, well, people lost this much Bitcoin or they
Mhm.
lost all their NFTs. And no doubt, the problem is there's people being robbed at this very second right now. They're getting hacked in their bank account. They're
Sure.
getting stood up at gunpoint. Like it's happening.
Yeah.
People's houses are being robbed.
Yep.
So it's not like robbery or stealing your assets wasn't a thing. The difference is we have some stuff like insurance.
Mm-hmm.
The insurance companies they don't want to touch this stuff yet. So I
No,
don't
of
know
course
when
not.
they get there.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. If like someone, I think we might have talked about in another podcast, if someone took my credit card and made a $750 transaction at Walmart,
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that wasn't me. And they'd be like, okay, here's your money back and we're sending you a new card.
Right.
So it's protected. So some of these other things are not protected yet, but it's just going that direction. I just think it's so early in the process. Like
Yeah.
we're still really early. And that's why this podcast, Saviors of the Metaverse, is
Mhm.
going to be so big because we're so early and it's
Yeah.
really good. So somehow, like you've done in the past, I brought it all back to us.
I like
So,
that.
yeah.
You're getting so good at this,
Yeah.
Eric. I just want to take a moment to recognize.
There was no purpose in that.
I know.
When I was started my little rant of whatever I just said, I blacked out
Yeah.
and I got to
Happens
the
to me
end.
all the
I
time.
never crossed I wasn't like, let's circle it back to Eric and Jared.
Yeah.
Or is it Jared and Eric?
But now that you're describing it, it's like, hey, when I was telling this really funny joke, here's what was really funny about it.
Yeah.
Oh man, my bad.
That's bad. So you're saying because I told you.
Don't explain it.
No, I wanted to.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
Just
that
don't
time I
explain it.
wanted to.
Yeah, I know, but nobody needs you to explain it.
But I wanted you. That's not for the listener.
You want
we can
me?
cut that out.
That's just weird.
Yeah. Back to the
Don't
Future
cut
year.
it out. You talk about cutting stuff out all the time and you don't do
So
it.
that was a good one. I've had so many notes today. I'm like, you're on today. I'm like learning a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm here to educate.
Yeah.
Most of my other podcasts with you, I'm just bullshitting.
Yeah, you are educating. Something happened.
Well, no, this is what I normally do, but I'm having fun at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times can we just talk about the same old shit over and over again? Probably many, but I assume now, I'm just...
2015, October 21st, 2015.
That was for Back to the Future, right?
Was that the day we met?
Was that the day we met?
I don't know. It was 2015.
It was early.
1985. We know that. That was Back to the Future. That was original.
That was,
But they had a whole thing because like when the day came, people were like, this is Back to the Future Day when it was 2015. There's no cars flying around.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Because there's no infrastructure to do it.
The Chicago Cubs did win the World Series eventually. They stole that from Cleveland Indians.
Mm-hmm.
Game
Sadly.
7. Sorry.
That's okay.
Are you an Indians fan?
Were
you? Guardians
but
now?
I mean, I'm not...
So it was like Browns, all Browns.
all
Who's
Browns.
talking? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's the only team, that I've really... but I would root for the Indians, yes. I've been to Indians games.
Now it's the Guardians. So they couldn't keep that name.
Oh, man.
You're right. I mean, people don't talk about... I mean, it's like, that's a
I
tough one.
guarantee you know who threw a fit about that? Not Native Americans. White people.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that this is offensive to some folks. Well, everything's offensive to everybody somewhere,
Yeah.
Your beard is offensive to me, but I still like you.
That's mean. Man.
I'm just kidding. It's not offensive.
Yeah, I don't know. But if someone was and it wasn't the right thing, they say you got to get rid of
Okay,
it.
fine. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. I don't know if Guardians was the right choice. Like you can stay in like that range.
Well,
you were
it's
going to go
better than
down. I was like
Washington
going to
football
save.
team. That's some dumb shit right there. But
Well,
exactly
no,
what
they
you expect
changed
out
it.
of DC.
It's not the Washington football team anymore.
Oh,
It's the Commanders.
oh, there you go. Well,
Yeah.
They should have started
My
with
son
that.
was like, "Oh, you like the Commanders?" But it was like that was like he was saying when he was in elementary school and you go to the playground, you're like, "It's the Commanders versus the Guardians." Like
It's just sounds
so
stupid.
cheesy.
It
Like,
is
like-
cheesy.
Like if you're gonna be basic, be basic.
Right.
And I like basic. I think
Yeah.
it's like simple. Like the Lions.
But
It's like
but
simple.
now I will, for the sake of, Redskin is a bit. Yeah.
But it's times have changed where it took until the
Yeah.
2020 or
I
whatever
don't
it was for
necessarily
them to
see it
get
as
rid of
like,
it.
who goes on to say, a reservation and starts calling people Redskins?
I don't know.
Of course, you're saying, oh, yeah, I hope not either.
That'd be bad.
That'd be
It's
really,
their
we should
video.
do an investigation on that. An investigative journalistic trip where we take this podcast on the road.
like that.
We go to different reservations,
Yeah.
which they will probably beat the shit out of us
Mhm.
because who comes
I like
asking
that.
stupid questions like that? People are like, man, we got jobs to do.
That's what the New York Times person did with the Deshaun Watson case. So she found out that he was reaching out to these
Mhm.
massage therapists on Instagram.
Yeah.
So this is like sales. Like I was like impressed because they like write hit pieces and they're like after people. But she got on Instagram or social media and she just reached out to him, DM'd him and said, "Can we meet? Can we meet?"
Yeah.
So she moved. She went to sorry, I have
Houston,
my iPad's open
That's
and
okay.
like some website and things are flashing everywhere. It's like,
Yeah.
well,
Because it's
can
an
I just
unsecured
focus?
site. You probably got a virus name. But go ahead.
Not on Apple. They don't allow viruses.
That's what they tell you
That's
so you can
what-
sleep
that's what
well at
she
night.
said, yeah. So
What? No,
no,
wrong.
no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
No, but so she went to Houston and met with all these individual therapists and talked to them. And there's like 6 she reached out to all of
She
them.
did a good job.
Yeah.
Which is what journalists are supposed to do.
Yeah.
Not just make up shit and then get online and,
I was like,
which is
that's
what
a
most
deep
journalists
piece.
do.
And so like, if
Yeah.
we do this, we're going to have to go all in. Like we're going
I
to
know.
have,
That's what I'm saying.
Like we're going to have to tell wife and kids, we're not going to be back for a while. We hope. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's true.
It's like
It's true.
undercover
I don't
Donnie
know that I want to do
Brasco.
this.
Yeah. Like you might be able to show up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Let's not do it.
Unless we get some funding. If anybody out there is listening and would like to fund this.
Did you talk to Mark? I mean, you reached out to him last time. That's Zuckerberg for anyone.
Oh, Zucks?
Yeah.
Zucky?
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
He's busy. I'm busy. And I don't ever want to give him the impression that he's more busy than I am. And so I just
We're
try not
all
to.
the same busy. It's like, what are you spending your time doing?
That's none of your business.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just a fact.
So I know this is mostly evergreen, and I hope, because I think you could just take
you
something
want to
from
talk
it
about
in the
Carolina
metaverse in the
and
future.
Deshaun and all
No,
that.
I just like, because the decision came out. So we're in the middle of it. Decision's out.
Yep.
6 games. The NFL's appealed it. So that's going to be a
Correct.
process now.
Yeah.
Wow. This would be a lot happening. Like the NFL's like, let's just appeal it because guess what? This is all anyone's going to write about
Mhm.
for the next, and it's going to be it's all NFL from here on out.
Yeah, man.
It's all NFL all the time, but
Yeah.
they're going to appeal it. And I've heard like his contract's more backloaded. So if he gets suspended, say next year, the money impact is greater.
Yeah.
As opposed to like if he can like wait this thing out and they can fight it. And it's like in the meantime, while you're fighting it, he's playing.
Yeah.
That could happen. But then he could be suspended next year. But then they're like, I think, if I'm guessing, like they're going to come, maybe, I don't know, come to an agreement. And they're going to say, I'm going to sit out the year, not me, him, because I didn't do anything wrong.
Right. Yeah. You haven't.
Yeah,
Not yet.
not
But
yet.
you will.
No.
Don't worry about it. I'm a futurist. Trust me. Go ahead.
If this says, because the money, because you can say, no money, 16 games, I'll be done.
Mhm.
But I don't know. Like, because this is dangerous because now they want money.
Right.
And they're going to get someone else to see the case. Because the 6 games, when I've talked to some attorneys about this, and they're like, based on everything that we've seen and what that judge saw, 6 games was the answer. Like people are freaking out, like what it was 5 years ago, what Ben Roethlisberger got, or Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah,
and it's like, it doesn't
based on
matter.
precedent.
This is it's kind of, but this is a new bargaining agreement. This is all different stuff. And it's based on this case is so unique compared to other cases. You can't compare the two.
Right.
And she wasn't looking at all 24 cases. She looked at, I think it was 5 cases, 4 cases.
And then one of them got thrown out for, I guess that was the one where the son had come and been like,
yeah. No,
so really it was only 3.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. So just change the numbers. Maybe it was 2.
I don't know.
I don't
but
know.
yeah.
Sorry.
Here's my prediction.
You're good at this. You're predicting. No,
I know,
you
man. I called it on
here.
Baker. I told you. I did. I just need to double down on all of
left
this.
and right. Yeah.
No, he's not.
He is.
I've been tracking him.
Oh, you've been there?
His first day.
Spartanburg.
Sure, but yeah.
How hot is it in Spartanburg?
Oh my God.
It's so hot.
Unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
I can't. It's worse than here for sure.
Yeah.
But what I think is going to happen is this: is that the NFL is going to appeal it, and then
They did.
They did. Yeah. Okay. So no, that's history now. And then the Players Association is going to wait a little bit. Yeah, they're going to take it to federal court, and then I think Deshaun's going to start.
That's awesome. That's just so cool. I think that the NFL can waste everybody's time
and money,
energy, and money.
Yeah, for sure.
It's federal court. Like it's a quarterback for the Browns. Like they're not winning. Like who cares? Sorry.
No, that's just a fact.
It's a fact.
It's a fact.
Yeah. I hope Jacoby is like, I hope he does well.
I do
and
too.
Like the team does well. And they don't, it's like, wait a second, Deshaun, here's your $250 million. Go take the circus somewhere else. We're good. Is he worth it?
I have no idea. I've never watched him play.
Yeah.
Never watched the Houston Texans. I didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I didn't. I only cared about the Browns.
Well, Clemson. He was good there.
I didn't watch college ball.
Have they gone to Clemson and asked around
campus
campus
established
there?
The fact that I am not a sports authority to be trusted.
I get it.
I have instinct.
You're watching YouTube film of this cat.
You can see that. I'll tell you who's the worst at predicting all this stuff is all the talking heads. Like
sports talking heads. Sports talking heads.
They miss the mark all the time.
They don't like have stats on how off they are.
No,
because it's okay that you are. Just say it.
So like weathermen,
you just throw a prediction.
Like Jim Cramer.
Oh, and everyone's got a voice. We've been throwing. Well, what are we doing?
Yeah, but we admit it. We're like, hey, this may not be true.
Yeah,
these guys talk with conviction. Like this is what's going to happen.
Fact.
Yeah, no. So what I do think is this: is that now that the NFL is appealing, the Players Association already knew that this was a possibility, and they have every intention of running this up to federal court because, depending, I don't know all the details. What was getting a little confusing to me is grand juries. 2 grand juries, they basically said there's nothing here,
right?
Which is pretty significant. So, did Judge Robinson say that he committed sexual assault? Because as far as I understood, this was not criminal, this was civil. Because sexual assault is criminal.
Right.
And the grand juries basically said there's no criminal action here. This is what I'm hearing, some of these pundits talk about, as they're talking about it is sexual assault. Was it sexual misconduct? Is that the same? Or was it, because sexual assault, that's a felony. Right? And so if that's a felony charge, but 2 grand juries said, no, there's no crimes committed here, and then it went into civil case, then what was this whole deal with the NFL? Was it just for her to look at that and decide what the punishment should be?
That's just an NFL thing. Like you're a private business, so the NFL can...
So is she now saying that she has found that he was guilty of a felony?
No,
because all this is going to matter going to federal court.
He violated the
conduct policy.
Right.
Okay, great.
That's different. But we could have our own conduct policy at our own company and say you violated it and you're now suspended or you're on leave
of course,
or you're fired.
Yeah, definitely. Right.
Yeah. So people do compare it to, well, they were innocent. That doesn't matter. It's a variable.
Right.
But what the company does with it, like, listen, you put us through this mess. You've given us a bad rap and all these things. You're sitting out.
Yeah.
And they have the right, from what I understand,
as a
private company.
I get it. As a private company, they can absolutely do that. And they brought in this outside arbitrator to determine what the punishment should be for, number one, did he violate their conduct policy? But the way I hear pundits talking about it is like, well, she said he was guilty of sexual assault. I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. Whether he was or not, I'm just saying that this is where now you're getting into felony territory, right? Now you're getting into criminal territory. If he did it, then absolutely he should be punished for that. But if two grand juries said there wasn't anything there, and then it turned into just civil lawsuits, and then he settled some of the civil lawsuits, and now it went on to what should these punishments be? And now it's coming back out. It's like, okay, well, that she's confirmed for the NFL, like he did commit this crime. And this is the thing that I just think is pretty irresponsible on behalf of a lot of the pundits that are out there talking about this. If I'm missing something, then, I'd take all that back. But if I'm not, it's, you got to think about the Players Association. If they come back and say, hey, look, if you guys are going for more, then we're going to appeal this as well, and we're going to take it up to federal court. And they've got all kinds of stuff. They've got precedent to say that the NFL has failed to live up to their own conduct policy and therefore cannot enforce this conduct policy on this player. And then they'll do all kinds of stuff like blocking. Well, there's some type of language about blocking somebody's ability to make a living.
Right.
All kinds of crap. Like it's just going to get messy and nasty. And in that situation, I think that happens, which I think is very likely. Deshaun Watson starts game one.
Yeah. But eventually, so the part of the thing that I have to think about, and I'm not looking at the contract and we can pull it up, but if his contract is backloaded, meaning if he misses a game this year versus next year, the difference in money, where you're going to get suspended, they can tell him. It's whether it's 6 games or 8 or 16 or multiple, you're going to get suspended. So you'd rather take your medicine and sit this out so you don't run the risk of like how much money could you potentially lose down the road.
Right.
So that's the thought. That's a variable.
Like I said in one of our other episodes, the Haslams aren't idiots. They're not just stupid people who have money that was given to them. I mean, they've been very successful in business. And, as much as people want to shit on this contract, which is pretty insane, my instinct is that they had...
Well, here it is. His base salary this year...
$700,000.
That's crazy. $690,000 to be exact.
Oh.
That's what it says. I don't know if it's exact. I mean, that's what they say.
Yeah.
Next year... $46 million. Holy cow.
But what's the stipulation on that?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not reading the fine
right?
print.
There's all kinds of stuff that's...
Absolutely. That's a difference, though. He's got a signing bonus. He's got a different cap hit. So signing bonus is still, it's $9 million. It looks like every single year.
Yeah.
Up just under 8,993. 000. So that's a big difference. You don't want to lose next year versus this year. Now, at the same time, he could be like, listen, I'm grateful to just even have a $250 million guaranteed contract.
Yeah.
So if you take $50 million away, I should have not had that much. I mean, I don't think he's going to look at it that way.
No.
So I think they're coming to an agreement. And he's going to sit out more games this year. That's my thought.
I think he's going to start.
That's good.
I do. I think it's going to be that crazy.
Okay.
He's going to be the starting QB. Unless the NFL, like if the NFL continues on this trajectory of appealing, he's going to be the starting QB.
Look at Cleveland, just like center of attention. They got the Guardians. They got Sean. It's like, man, LeBron wanted to come back because their team was good and the Lakers were terrible. Like there's all these rumors that LeBron wanted, and they're like, we don't fucking want LeBron back.
Yeah. He's about to sign a big deal
come back,
with LA.
left, come back. Like, come on, man. Like
get over
it's
yourself.
over.
Yeah.
He's good. He's a good basketball player.
What's all this stuff going on with Tom Brady? I keep hearing something about
Dolphins.
What about the Dolphins?
Because they were tampering. Because he retired. I don't know the full story, but like Tom Brady retired.
Yeah.
And the story was he was never retiring. Like there's no way he was retiring.
Why would he do that?
And the Dolphins were in on it and be like, you're going to come here. We're going to give you ownership or some sort of rights. And who knows? He's going to be like everything. And then found out that they did an investigation on it. And it turns out that they were tampering with Tom Brady. So they got in a lot of trouble. So the owner, Stephen Ross, this big Michigan business school, the Stephen Ross School of Business, whatever, he's suspended.
Nice.
Through like, billionaire, whatever.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure he's
they
really
lost the
feeling
first round draft pick and some other stuff. And Tom Brady's still in the Buccaneers and the Dolphins just, Dolphins and Browns, AFC Championship.
I mean, I've been paying more attention to what's going on with Baker in Carolina. And I think it's just because the Browns lineup looks incredible, but the drama and the uncertainty around what's going on up there. I'm like, well, when the season starts, in the preseason, I'm going to be watching that as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
But from when I got back into the Browns, it was the first year that Baker was on the team. I didn't even know who he was. I've told you this story.
Yeah.
I was getting up early in the morning and on HBO, they had Hard Knocks. I was like, the Browns, like when I was a kid, who had left for 15 years and just
they
didn't
brought
give a
you back
shit.
in.
Right. I had no idea who Nick Chubb, Baker. I don't know who any of these guys were because I didn't watch
HBO
college ball.
making it happen for you. That's what we talked about with like Apple bringing people, right? Apple's going to have the streaming rights and then everyone's going to watch. And the next thing you know, these NFL fans are going to be showing up to the game with their iPads.
Apple's not going to get the streaming rights to the NFL.
Ooh, you're saying
gonna break
Amazon, right?
Yeah, I definitely think Amazon.
That. I'll take Apple side. That's fine. I'll take them both. I mean, they might both get it.
Yeah.
Because you have CBS and like they might, that would have been bad. Maybe not. That's a little different. We talked about that too.
Yeah,
but
no, I think it's definitely going to be Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like Top Gun movie, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
It was good.
You said something early on before you had seen the movie. It's been a while, right?
How
We've
I
both
feel
seen
about
it.
Tom Cruise?
No, not Tom Cruise.
Okay.
You said it was critically acclaimed.
Mm-hmm.
So it took you took other people telling you that you should see this movie for you to send
People
see the
that I
movie.
trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who do you trust?
Oh, I mean,
Siskel and Ebert kind of thing?
are they still alive? I don't know. Well,
Yeah, we could look
if
that
not,
up.
rest in peace. No, I
Yeah.
don't give a shit.
I think one of
You
them
don't need to look it up. Don't waste energy.
You don't give a shit? That's terrible.
I do. That's not about them personally. It's just
Yeah.
like I'm moving on. I've
This
already
is a
moved on.
sidetrack. This bothered me.
Okay. Is this your rant? Is this your
not.
outrage?
It's not.
When are we going to
It's
get to the
close.
outrage?
No, it's a new outrage, I think.
Okay.
So yesterday, as
Mhm.
we're recording this, Indiana Representative Jackie Walorski
Uh-huh.
died in a car accident, tragically. 2 of her staffers were in there, younger people died. So it was announced on social media. It was announced wherever. It's awful, right? She's a
Jeez.
Republican, GOP,
That's
like very
horrible.
supportive. It's terrible. So I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. It's very sad,
Yeah.
right? You go to social media,
Mm-hmm.
USA Today, any new CNN, it doesn't matter. They're all, and this is just like someone lost their life. Multiple people lost their life. Families are impacted. You have people on Twitter that are like, just like could care less or are happy that someone, and I guess it's Twitter, it could be
Right.
bots, it could be the Russian, who knows? It doesn't matter. It's the fact that like people are shitting on this post
Yeah.
and being like, well, that's one less we have to
Uh-huh.
worry about. And just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
What is wrong with people?
Well, they probably regret it and try and delete it afterwards.
No,
unless they're
there's
bots.
a lot. It's not like 1 or 2. And
Twitter's
I get
a
it.
cesspool.
And people are, it's all of it.
Yeah.
But Twitter's got some good things. I'm just saying like, but it's not all bots.
No.
Some of these are real people.
But there's
and a lot of them are high.
but they have
There
an
are.
extraordinary. That was one of the things when Elon did the audit.
But it's just fucked up though that people would do that. Like I get it. Like
Yeah.
you might hate this person. Like you could hate Joe Biden, but you want anything tragic to happen to the guy. Like that's fucked up.
Yeah.
And these people on social media are just like acting like this is everything. Like someone lost their life and you're going to get on Twitter and
Dude,
you're going to have these
check
comments
it
and be
out.
like, didn't know who this person was. I can fucking care less. Or they say, well, thank goodness. Like
Yeah.
we don't need that. And you're like, man, these people like talk about self-awareness. Like they're so far gone. And again, this could happen on the other side as well. So I'm not just saying it's just the far left. It could be the far right.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, well, this person deserved it because they were at, like, are you serious? Like head-on collision driving and someone crossed the median and hit their car and all
Yeah.
3 of them died.
Yeah.
It's fucking tragic. Yeah, I'm swearing because it pissed me off when I read it. And I was like, well, you could respond to it, but like, what are you responding to? That's like pulling up to someone who's got a gun. Like they don't care.
Right.
They don't care about their life. They don't care about your life. So it's like, what are we doing here? But that's how bad it's gotten. It's like makes you think like we're in a bad spot in some ways.
Yeah. So
In that regards, like I'm not saying, well, it's like, oh, we'll move to Canada, or like, well, then go to Canada.
yeah, right.
You know?
Oh, they're doing great. Go live under,
Yeah, yeah.
Trudeau.
Mm.
So what you're saying is you want me to delete my tweet?
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
would not do that because you want to be here. Because I
Yeah.
just showed you a little bit of anger right there. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it was really good.
Here's my way to get back is to talk about it and to put this on notice.
Well,
Not them on notice, but like people to like, look around and be like, why do we need that? Yeah, thank you.
Here's the thing.
Save me.
I'm going to save you right now. Okay. This goes back to something. I'm going to add a second rule here, but something that, some of the best advice I ever got, and I give it to a lot of people, is that you have to dramatically lower your expectations of other people. Again,
Talked about that earlier.
that's right.
Yeah.
And I always have to come right back with this and say, it's not a negative. I don't say that because I have a negative outlook of people. What I mean is that I think we put too many unrealistic expectations on other people that do not share the same goals, outlooks, or the interests that you do, which is just nobody's going to be passionate about. Like we've talked about this before. I don't know if it was on the podcast or not, talking about ownership and employees. I mean, you had several employees with your business prior to the pandemic. And one of the things that you and I would go back and forth on was the expectations that you had of them of taking a sense of ownership over their job. But the reality is that they would never do the work to a certain standard because they're not actual owners in the business. You can never expect them to have that same type of vision and outlook. They're not going to give a shit. They're self-interested, just like most people are. Now, having a shared goal or shared interest and you're working together towards that, that's what makes people, organizations successful, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at things that are like Twitter, these are people who, if they're actual people and not bots,
Right.
I have zero expectations. To be trolled becomes kind of funny, but is what they say completely insensitive and off base? Of course it is. But some people are just shitty.
Yeah.
And some bots are really shitty.
Yeah.
So I say if you keep your expectations low and give no airtime to just shitty people, awesome.
Helps you.
Because they're looking for a reaction, right?
I get it. And I appreciate that.
But I agree that it's tasteless and it's awful.
I just think it needs to be, because I can get past that. And I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate the session real quick. Pay you later.
Definitely. For sure. Anytime.
Because I think when you see that, you're like, okay, I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And you know what? We have the platform, Saviors of the Metaverse, to talk about it.
Damn right.
You've been asking for outrage. I've been looking for it.
I know.
You actually sent me on a path of looking for outrage. So
I know.
found
Good
some.
job. Nicely done.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the outrage you texted me about.
It wasn't. But we were talking about
waiting for
Top
that.
Gun. Somehow we went down this path because we're talking about, critically acclaimed.
Listening to people, I get my,
You had seen the first one here and there, and you'd only seen it on TV. You
I'd
talked
seen
about
the edited for television version.
Right, but then you saw the actual movie.
I did.
Right before.
As an adult.
As an adult.
Yeah.
And did you feel a sense of the first half of Top Gun Maverick, the new movie?
Mhm.
It was playing the first movie over. It was all a repeat in a different way with 30 years, how many years later?
Yes, but I think they did it right. They didn't overdo it.
Yeah.
But they were just showing
there's aspects of it that were okay, I get it.
So what did you love most about that movie?
Oh man, I don't know if I had a most. You do that a lot. Rank this, what's the most?
Yeah, it's all data for me, man. I'm just ranking everything. I rank friends.
Yeah.
I rank,
There was a
my
Seinfeld
kids.
episode where they rank who you like the most based on who's on your caller ID list. Who's on your favorite list? And I actually said that to you. If you had answered the phone when I called you,
I listened to your message.
Yeah, I would have put you because I was thinking if we're hosting a podcast together, you might be worthy of being on my favorites list. Am I on yours?
I'm not sure, but you know what? I
You
figured
would know.
No, what are you talking about? I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. That's craziness.
Yeah. I mean, clearly people love the fact that was real live, not live, but it was real
Turn your phone
action.
off. I'm calling you right now.
Oh, I'm on Do Not Disturb.
Oh man,
because I'm
I
on
was
a
hoping you put
podcast
me
right
on the
now.
favorites list. Okay,
I should have a outgoing voicemail. I'm recording. I mean, it should probably just be the whole time because that's all I do now.
What?
Record podcasts.
I know.
That's
Seriously.
all I want to do.
Okay then.
In the metaverse.
Yeah.
I want to know how to do that. I'm so confused by metaverse sometimes though.
Yeah,
you
it's
understand,
okay.
and everyone is.
Hey, do you think every savior knew
We're
what they were
already in
walking
the
into?
metaverse, by the way. We didn't talk about Roblox and all this stuff. We're growing up with, was it Gen Z and then Alpha Generation or Generation Alpha?
Fuck, they've already got the other one coming up behind.
Yeah, I thought you would know. You were all into that stuff.
No, I wasn't into it. I kind of I was aware of it because it's just how people.
I know, but
because again, people want to categorize and rank. Yeah.
No, I'm up. No, sorry.
Yeah, it's your turn.
No, but Roblox.
You go.
These kids are growing up in.
I know my kids.
What's the other one? Fortnite, obviously, and
I haven't heard much about
Minecraft.
Yeah, Minecraft. That's
these
cool.
are they are metaverses. It's happening.
Roblox is a cesspool of pedophiles that pretend to be children.
All of them.
I don't know.
That's a big generalization. It's because it's not.
I know. My kids are in there.
Yeah. Have you played Roblox?
No.
You never dabbled with them? I do.
Adopt Me? Minecraft.
I've done Adopt Me with my daughters.
Where you become a baby?
Yeah.
That's some fetish shit right there.
No.
That's
You
bizarre.
you have a baby, like a cat.
You have a baby.
And then you hatch the baby and then you just draw, and then we just mess around.
Oh, that's
and
weird.
my daughter's like, yeah, that's right. I want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
If you want to understand what they're doing, go play Fortnite to see what it is and see what the people are saying and get on the mic.
I've never played Fortnite.
There's a lot of cursing on that. And
I know.
You know what sucks? And I played it because my daughter was away. So I was I had to update the game or whatever. So I just went in. I was like, I'll play a game real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And you're messing around. You're looking for weapons. And then out of nowhere, you just get killed.
Yeah.
And you never saw it coming. You're like, golly.
Again, I can't speak from experience. I've never played
But
Fortnite.
you don't get killed in the way that's not violent kill. It's just the game's over.
Yeah.
You place 36 and then they see and they come and take all your shit that you just accumulated. It's and you watch them. And
I
you can
played
watch
one
them
game when I play very frequently, or not
Did
frequently.
you get
infrequently.
shot while you're landing?
No. I've never played Fortnite. I literally have never played. There's one game that I'll play and I play maybe 20 minutes at a time. If I
Candy
get a chance
Crush.
to.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, man.
It's a video game?
Yeah. It totally fits the stereotype of men in their
It's
40s.
Like, well, I mean, I play sports games. I like those.
I don't play those.
Yeah, I know you didn't.
Those take too much time. Like, I get it.
You play like a James Bond first-person shooter
That's
game.
funny, James Bond. Call of Duty, right? Like,
I was
such
going
a
to
typical,
say that. I
it's
swear
so
it was
typical
on.
of like guys like that fit my demographics. Like, yeah, I'll play some Call of Duty.
Game. So I've got on there before, and I've heard the people like I don't play. But
I keep the mic off.
Oh,
it is so racist and so obnoxious. I cannot believe the shit people are saying.
Oh yeah, it's pretty bad.
And I'm like, and we don't let our kids play it.
Yeah, that's a violent game.
It is. Yeah,
that's like war. It's like a hard time watching that stuff. Like my son was like, I'm going to watch Saving Private Ryan. I'm like, no, I don't think I can watch that.
No, man. I mean, I tell you what, on a real level. So, I've shared with you, I mean, during the pandemic, prior to the pandemic, and most of the time over the pandemic, most of my work was down at Fort Bragg, and I had the opportunity to work with a lot of guys that have become like family, growing up in the Army. There's a lot of connections there. But these guys are special operators who have been multiple combat tours. Great guys, for sure. But the more you start to see what this does to their bodies, to their minds. I mean, again, I don't want to paint a picture of like some helpless man who's on the street, which there's a lot of veterans that are on the street. I mean, these guys, for the most part, you would have no idea that they struggle with some of the things they struggle with. But when you look at the wear and tear that is put on their bodies, they're incredible professionals. When you watch movies or shows that are depicting Green Berets, Delta Force, Navy SEALs. Like Amazon just had one come out recently called The Terminal List.
Yep.
And I watched that and I was like, I get it. It's all Hollywood. But as you're watching it, the thing that I'm thinking about watching that movie and just what's going on is most people look at them and say, oh, this is badass. He's getting revenge. The thoughts that go through my head are like, this dude's going to be fucked up for a long time. Just because you cannot do all that stuff and walk away being like, yeah, I'm a badass and glad I did that.
Right. So that's Chris Pratt's movie. And I saw the trailer. I heard him interviewed. And I saw like the first few minutes and like some really bad shit went down.
Yep.
And now he's like on a revenge tour or something like that. And it's to exactly that. You're like, no matter what happens here, however he comes out of this, this is bad shit that just happened.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a happy ending in that. Like, even if he wins and saves the day, which I'm sure he does or whatever, I don't know. Don't tell me the spoiler, but...
No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to. But I just think about, so working with these guys, being a part of a documentary that is around this treatment that I got, that SGB, the stellate ganglion block, and all this stuff will come out when the documentary comes out. But in our trip up to Chicago, 7 Green Berets, I think most of them were still active duty. One of them might have already been retired, but we're spending time up there and these guys are getting treated and, you learn more of their stories and you learn about the things that need to be fixed, right? It's not just counseling that is important, but you have to take this holistic approach, resetting the parasympathetic nervous system through this treatment that's phenomenal. It basically takes that fight or flight and resets it so that you're not always on edge. You're not always looking around the corner. So when I watch something like, the Terminal List, I'm like, God, this guy's fight or flight is just on red the whole time. And you don't just stop when you've accomplished your objective. Now, you're still going to be that way when you go home. You're still going to be that way. And I just think, what's this guy's personal life when all this action is done? Again, I know it's Hollywood, but we're glorifying and magnifying something that has significant consequences in the long run, right? Significant consequences. Now, I don't say that to say that going into the Army and doing this type of stuff is bad. Not at all. I mean, in another life, that was the direction maybe I went. But my wife and her great foresight told me that I was fucking crazy when I was getting close to that age limit, that I was again looking into special operations. She told me I was nuts and that it wasn't going to happen because I was about to be a dad. So she's done that 3 times actually in my life. And I'm really glad that she did, because the more you get to know what's on the back end of this, you realize like it's a lot. Now, these guys would never say, I wish I didn't do it.
Right.
They did it. They would do it again for the most part. Some of them say they wouldn't, but that was their job. But it's the aftermath that nobody actually prepares them for by saying, hey, look, you're going to be kind of fucked up in certain ways. And you just need to prepare yourself for that. Or what can you be doing now to mitigate some of those things?
Right.
So I don't know. Thinking about these movies.
I mean, Top Gun has an element to it. I mean, like if you think about like they're getting shot down in enemy territory.
PTSD, man. I mean, seriously. Like I was thinking about the same
you
thing.
Have a
watching
missile coming at you and you're in a plane.
Shit.
Yeah.
Do you know? I mean, just to think about like how fast you have to be able to react and all the things you have to remember in that situation.
Right. And obviously it's like extreme, right? There's different levels of it, right? And there's not a lot of like dogfighting going on today.
Right.
I don't think.
Well, as far as we know.
As far as we know, right?
Except for with UFOs. And yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, okay. Just like food dye.
Yeah. We've never come around.
No,
with
I've thought I
Is that your outrage, food dye?
It's not.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah, we're running low, so we might have to.
Well, I get it.
Outrage next time.
Tracking on you there. Yeah.
Yeah.
From what I heard, Top Gun did a really good job of replicating reality.
They said things were possible. Like there was, they said like, would that happen? like when, I guess you can't give away too much stuff, but
Right.
who were the two and they went out to sea because they lost, I don't know, help me out. They said that typically wouldn't, but it could happen.
Sure.
Or when they stole the plane,
Yes, that was
they
badass.
said, would that happen? Like they said, it's not out of the realm of possibility that
Right.
could happen. It's unlikely,
Yeah.
but like it's a movie, right? So
Well,
we have to
again,
go to the unlikely.
If you're looking at like, so one of the things with Top Gun that and this is my interpretation of this, is that they are presenting the best of the best, the elite, right? We don't know what their training is for survival and all that type of stuff.
Right.
Now, stealing a plane that they know how to operate is very much like a special operations deal,
Right.
right? But those guys also aren't dogfighters. They're not pilots. So you're thinking about somebody who's highly trained as a pilot to do this. I would assume maybe, who knows? So yeah, there's obviously some fantastical
But it
elements
was
in there.
their
But
plane at one point. You
it
know what I
was,
mean? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also they're trying to survive. I mean, it's all completely plausible.
Yeah.
There's definitely shit that's totally implausible in other movies that you're like, oh, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's kind of interesting to have that to say, listen, it's not going to be like it doesn't always have to be. It could be totally extreme.
Of course.
Yeah.
As long as you, again, setting the expectations right.
Yeah.
Go into a movie and go, you know what? This is going to be
It's
fantastic.
the Will
and
Ferrell
ridiculous.
Step Brothers, right? Bring it up like this, just outrageous. But it's like if you're going in there looking for the Oscar,
Oh,
like
man.
okay, it's just that's not what this is about.
The Will Ferrell movie that took me a little while to really warm up to was Anchorman, the first one.
Yeah, yes.
Because I
That's
was going in
interesting.
expecting it to be a one thing,
Yeah.
obviously a comedy, but
Yeah.
it was so incredibly stupid on so many levels that I was
so
like, once I
ridiculous.
adjust the expectations,
Yeah.
I laughed so
It's
hard.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Last thing, there's a great new show on HBO, and this is maybe I've told you about this. Nathan Fielder, Nathan for You.
Nathan for
Oh
me.
God, dude,
No.
this guy is great.
Okay.
Nathan for You, Nathan Fielder.
Here it is.
You need to, yeah.
Okay.
And now he's got a new show on HBO called The Rehearsal.
Okay.
You got to watch the show. This is comedy genius, by the way.
Okay. What's it on? Netflix?
Yeah, on Netflix. Sure. Well, yeah, I think Nathan for You is on Hulu.
Let
maybe?
me search it.
Yeah,
and
just
then-
look it up.
It's on Hulu.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nathan for You is great.
Okay.
Watch that. It's
Oh,
The whole
okay.
premise is
he looks
stupid.
familiar.
This is the expression "don't go around the block to get next door." The whole show is always about Nathan Fielder going around the block to get next door. Like he's trying to solve a problem. He goes to elaborate
Okay.
means, and he's this awkward guy, and that's part of his
It's a little
persona.
ridiculousness.
Very much so. But
Okay.
it's dry humor.
Yeah.
Now he's got a show on HBO called The Rehearsal,
Okay.
and they're using that stupid HBO money. So the amount of money that goes
Oh,
into
man.
going around the block to get next door,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Yeah.
It is so funny and
Okay.
brilliant. But most people probably wouldn't get it. They'd be like, well, this just seems kind of dumb. But man,
Maybe
it's so good.
you have low expectations of people. Like you don't want to have high expectations, but then maybe you don't want to set the bar too low. Low expectations. Like you think everyone wouldn't be able to handle it.
No,
this
that's
show
not
was,
what I
like,
think.
made
I
for
just,
you?
from experience, right?
Yeah.
Like one
There's
of my favorite shows of all time. I'm going to just dominate this whole
That's
topic.
fine. No, it's yours.
One of my favorite shows of all time that I finally was. So my kids just started watching Bob's Burgers,
Okay.
which is great. John Benjamin is the voice of Bob, but he's
Okay.
been in.
Is
the
that
voice-
appropriate? Is that like Family Guy? I'm just curious.
Oh, it's not as gross as Family Guy.
Gross. It's ridiculous.
Family Guy can get a little raunchy,
Yeah.
but John Benjamin is the voice
Yeah.
for Bob.
Okay.
But there was other shows where he was the voice that were really great. One was called Home Movies. You can watch the whole thing on HBO.
Okay.
That one's really funny. The one prior to that and how I knew about him was because when I was in high school, one of my favorite shows to watch was Dr. Katz.
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember that, but it was that
I know. I
animated.
watch it though.
It was
Yeah.
so good. Well, you can find all those on YouTube.
Yeah.
They basically would have, it's just brilliantly done. John Benjamin was the son in that. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I come back full circle here to Nathan Fielder's that kind of humor I've just seen over the years. Other people watching, I was like, oh, you got to check this out. And they're like, it was okay.
Yeah. Dr. Katz Medicine Woman, right?
No.
What's that?
Dr. Katz, no, that you're thinking
No,
of
I'm thinking,
Dr.
no.
Quinn. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah.
Katz, professional therapist.
Okay.
But you go to
Okay.
Dr. Katz,
Yeah, yeah.
Katz.
There's a new show that came out. I just randomly looked something up
Mhm.
and it's called, I wrote it down because it's so ridiculous. Dated and Related. It's on Netflix, I think.
Interesting.
Dated and Related. So it's like a
Oh my God,
dating
about.
thing. And they go away.
They find out they're
No, they're what is it? Like
incest.
relation? No, it's not. But you're with your siblings on this like remote island or something like that. And so you're looking for someone and your sister's looking for someone. Yeah. It's a show.
Geez.
And they said it's so like, what's the word? Cringe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's pulling people in and it's like supposedly some big thing. But like the name of Dated and Related.
That's funny. That makes you think of incest.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. There's another show on Netflix I watched called, again, this was like when Leanne and the boys were out of town. I was like, oh, okay, I got a little extra time. It's called Snowflake Mountain.
Okay.
Have you seen that one show
No.
up on Netflix? Oh, it's, really,
No.
it's pretty funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
I don't know how long it's
Yeah.
going to last.
Do you used to listen to Backstreet Boys in the day?
Oh, fuck
Yeah.
no. I know who they are. God, I never, even when I was a kid, I remember a certain point, there was a turning point in 5th grade when all the guys one day, I remember this clearly, like all the guys one day, all of a sudden were telling the girls that they liked New Kids on the Block. And I was looking around, I was like,
that's the
when
other one.
Fuck, I didn't get the memo.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
In sync.
No, New Kids on the Block.
I know what I'm saying, but
I
those
get
are
it.
like
years later, those clowns came along in sync. Although Justin Timberlake is he's pretty fucking
good.
dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff happened there. Yeah. Backstreet Boys. So you didn't, it wasn't yours.
No, of
what
course
if I
not.
told
What
you
a
it was
dumb
on in
question.
my car this morning? It was a dumb
I would
question.
believe it. You have a daughter, 2 daughters.
Yeah. So I just randomly played it.
You actually have 3 daughters, but you won't claim that one. We'll talk about that on another episode.
Another time.
Yeah.
We've reached our limit.
I think we have.
We're going to have to go outrage. Rage.
You want to outrage against the machine?
Well, no, we'll do it next time. We'll let it stew.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like this.
You like that?
I like this a
All
lot.
right, man.
CASCM is our content production company. Why content? It's simple. Content brings people together. I've seen it play out over and over, and I want to help others explore and discover this for themselves. The experience is totally worth it. Learn more at CASCM.com. We focus on podcasts and writing, one piece of content at a time. It all starts with conversations, just like this one.